What happened to people who got caught getting busy at work? Worked at Wendy's when I was a teenager. Just me at the register, the manager, and another girl in her early 20s at the drive-thru. There was another guy in his 20s who was on the grill and an older woman at the sandwich station, who I chatted with often. It was almost closing time. The manager is in the office doing whatever it is they do. The woman at sandwiches starts doing dishes, and the other two are outside taking a quick smoke break. So I start cleaning up the dining area and take the trash out to the dumpster. The dumpsters are enclosed around a fenced gate to keep pests and animals out. As I approached the dumpster, I heard someone else whisper, "Shh, shh," followed by a quiet, "What?" I am now aware these two people are not actually smoking and probably doing something my 16-year-old eyes don't want to see, especially since it's my co-workers. So I stand there for a moment, figuring out what to do as I'm tired and ready to go home. Then, without a second thought, I heave the trash bag over the gate and yell out, "Throw the trash in the dumpster for me when you're done." I walk back inside to finish cleaning up. The two lovebirds walk in about 5 minutes later and do whatever they can to avoid eye contact with me. As I'm heading to my truck, I check the dumpsters to see if they threw the bag in the bin. To my surprise, they actually did. This was years ago. I was in the US Army working as a supply specialist, so I had keys to everything. Female coworker and I would do the deed everywhere. Storage rooms, offices, empty barracks rooms. It went on for months. One day, our platoon sergeant pulled us aside and told us he knew what's been going on. Said that he saw us in one of our large warehouse areas. He said as long as it never happened again, he wouldn't make a big deal out of it. He kept his word. Good dude. My friend caught the maintenance man and his wife doing the deed in the break room. He never said anything. At my old job in a sheet metal factory, we caught two elderly employees doing the deed in the back of his Suburban. We'd long suspected it, because they went from being extremely close to kind of just trying to not be seen talking too much. Also, because it was a job that had unlimited overtime, they'd both show up at the same time and leave at the same time, even though we didn't have set hours. It was wild because both his son and her sons worked for the same company. His wife would show up and bring food for the whole staff in our department too, and you could see the mistress's guilt whenever his wife was there because she'd always leave. After we caught them, we kept our mouths shut about it, but they both started being really nice to us. The woman would bring us all lunch every day. It honestly saved us so much money. We'd eat out almost every day prior to that. And I'm not just talking ham and cheese sandwiches that she bought. She was Mexican and would make us full meals, tacos with beans and rice, chilaquiles, nopales, you name it. She had this little griddle in the break room and she'd make them fresh. It's probably the only thing I miss about that job. Silver lining to a very awkward and complicated situation. You know what? I would have accepted those free meals as a bribe too. Knocking on a coworker's partner for their infidelity is already a thing I'm probably not going to do for the sake of keeping my own life uncomplicated, which I know is selfish. I may as well accept some delicious Mexican food to relieve my guilt. I found out my long-term girlfriend was banging a maintenance guy at the nuclear power plant she worked at, because he left a message saying he couldn't see her that night because a transformer had, quote, blowed up. I remember incredulously asking her, "You're cheating on me with a guy that says blowed up?" There was a girl who'd done the deed with some employees for pay. When caught, they transferred her to another building and took some minor disciplinary action against all involved. Then, she did it again at the new building, so they transferred her back. At this point, a couple of years had passed, so there were no old clients in her area. Then she did it again. Third time was the final straw to get her fired. This woman was taking home 2 days' paycheck for 1 day worth of work. Wow. I worked with a guy at my previous job who was a night security guard for the main facility. Very smart guy, but had tons of self-destructive behavior when he was doing well. He was caught on camera entering an office with a night janitor, and she confessed that they'd been doing the deed at work. When confronted, he admitted to doing the deed with her, and they said he'd be terminated. He agreed, but first asked them to show him where it explicitly said in the company policy that doing the deed on company grounds was prohibited. He'd already reviewed the company policy and knew he had a claim of potential wrongful termination, and they did as well. Soon after, we had an updated corporate policy release with some clarification on what was considered appropriate work behavior. The guy actually stayed with the company for years and went on to work in manufacturing, where he was terminated for more self-destructive behavior. People ask for more stories, so I'll share a few of the ones I recall and aren't too personal to him. Once, he went just beyond the city limits, it was a large city, to a decent-sized river and creek. He was shooting a sawed-off shotgun into the water when the cops came after numerous complaints. He had all the licenses required to duck hunt and could legally hunt there, but the officers had to talk him into moving to a safer location, because he wasn't hunting after all. The other story I recall was him driving a tiny front loader at work that a third-party contractor had bought in for the day. He ended up messing something up and then using the safety policy against the company as a way to protect himself. I can't recall the exact reasoning behind this one, but we all thought it was the end for him, but he managed to work himself out of it. Okay, what's today's topic? Reads question. I didn't know I couldn't do that. Back in 2010, my high school basketball coach got caught doing the deed with a very pregnant teacher in the hospitality room of the school. And I mean very pregnant. And both of them were married. Very sad. I work in a government office. Our boss got caught doing the deed with his private secretary. Boss stepped down and the secretary was suspended for 6 months. My boss was caught in affairs with 5 different women at the hotel I worked at. He was fired with a long investigation. It sure explained why the dude was always late leaving. He had to catch up from how much banging he did. I was caught by my boss's boss going at it with my boss. He threw his binder down on the ground to get our attention. Then he left and we broke apart, then just finished the shift. I was so sure we were both going to get fired. I was a nervous wreck the whole day. In the end, he decided not to tell anyone and not to fire us. He just asked me if it was consensual, which it was, and lectured me on how inappropriate that was. Obviously, I agree. He also said he wished us a happy relationship. Scariest and most awkward day at work of my life. Never again. I see the supervisor sometimes, and I know it's obviously something we'll both never forget. You know, I have respect for someone who makes sure a lower employee, or anyone, isn't being taken advantage of. Good for him. Got caught by my brother plowing a coworker in the back of our family-owned restaurant. He played it cool for a few years until we were talking about it at lunch and I casually mentioned how I know he caught us. That was the day I found out he was doing the same thing with the same girl. Update, to answer the number one question I'm getting, my god guys, it wasn't my sister, it was my brother's sister. I plant trees for a living and hire over 30 20-something-year-olds and send them into remote areas for days at a time. Often I set up trail cameras to track progress and get cool time-lapse shots and also wildlife pics. On more than a few occasions, I've seen photos of staff walking off together and one glorious shot of one of these people going south of the border on the other one. I delete the photos and I don't make a big deal of it. If it doesn't impact their tree numbers, I just consider them on a break. Most of the time they're paid per tree planted, so it's up to them how much time they want to plant versus how much time they want to do the deed. In my case, nothing happened. They said sorry and closed the walk-in fridge door. Restaurants are a weird and wacky world. Yes, pizza restaurant of more than 10 years here, can confirm. Lots of young, stressed out, overworked people who don't have time to develop social relationships outside of the kitchen they're chained to for 45 hours a week. Add in the fact that many restaurants have lax enforcement of literally every rule they're supposed to have, and that so many restaurants' employees are college kids or early 20s college dropouts that are still attractive and cool, and that so many restaurants serve alcohol to their staff at a discount frequently on the clock, and you've got a perfect storm. A perfect, sweaty, dramatic, foolish, horny storm. Also, substances. Very true of hospitality. Also, this was a decade ago, but I remember seeing that there was an additional factor in some article or another. If employees don't like their boss, then the number of workplace flings flies through the roof. I guess people console one another against a hated foe, and most people working in restaurants hate their bosses. So yeah, no wonder they're always getting busy behind the bins. I used to work at the county jail, and we hired a new officer that worked in the cage. The cage control room is semi-private and has control of unlocking doors, so no one can walk in without the cage operator pushing a button. She was in an open marriage and put it out for just about anyone. She got caught when 8 officers got the clap. A few spouses, who got the clap from their cheating husbands, complained to the sheriff and she was fired. Demotions, suspensions, and firings of other male officers followed after an internal investigation. I mean, if you know she puts out for everyone, why in the name of sweet Satan's gonads would you not wear protection every darned time? When 8 people or more get the clap, it's called a round of applause. Am I right? Not me, but my ex-boss snorted white snow in our bathroom before going south of the border on a customer in our parking lot. Came back in and boasted to us that she got free green herb from this guy. A week later, fired. She's still engaged to her fiancé, who is not the customer, by the way. You can submit your own stories to be featured here on the channel. The story submission link is in the description below. And if you want to listen to some vibey music in the background, check out easymode, also linked below, and subscribe. I used to work at a high-end restaurant for a few years, so I got a few stories. For instance, one time after closing up shop, we were getting ready to go home, when I heard a noise in one of the broom closets. I found 2 customers banging away in it after we'd closed down. Another time, I went into our walk-in freezer after we'd mostly closed to do a quick inventory, only to find one of the waitresses getting frickin' plowed by one of the other chefs. I laughed and said, "Don't let me interrupt, I'm just counting inventory." Another time, one of our corporate chefs got fired for thrashing his hog in the manager's office. So that was pretty neat. But the best one by far has to be the time we were closing up shop and this waitress and cook kinda had a little thing going on and the whole kitchen staff knew about it. So one day we saw them walk into our outdoor cooler and shut the door behind them. Someone mentioned it to me and naturally I told everyone who was still there. We all waited outside the door and listened to see if we could hear the sounds of them getting busy. And we did. So when they finished, they walked out only to be greeted by the entire closing staff shouting, "Frickin' finally!" Oh, they were so embarrassed. It was great. I never have, but I can tell you that entire company-wide design decisions have been made for Amazon fulfillment centers to help curb such actions. For example, all janitor closets are required to have half-glass doors. My math teacher got caught doing the deed with my English teacher on the school printer in the conference room. So he got the name Printer Effer. And yeah, he's German, the German word for printer is Drucker, so the name Drucker Effer sounds a lot better in my native language. Not me, but 2 co-workers at a small family restaurant. They got caught doing the deed in the bathroom when the owner literally opened the door on them because they didn't lock it. The girl was bent over the sink and they were watching themselves in the mirror. He slammed the door shut and when they came out a few minutes later, panicky and shamefaced, he yelled at them, "If you're gonna do that, you clock out first," while the rest of us laughed our butts off. Worked retail in college. We were in the stockroom, clothes mostly still on, when the shift manager came in. I had her up against some fitted shirts. Me and her were written up and sent home. They interviewed us separately the next day and we lied about not having a relationship so they wouldn't transfer one of us. Looking back, I'm actually pretty surprised we weren't fired. Co-worker and manager got caught. He got transferred and she started hitting on me, and everyone else. It was awkward, but they were both adults. Not necessarily on duty, but I was at work. I used to work on cruise ships, and crew occasionally got cabin inspections. My girlfriend/co-worker and I were doing the deed in the morning when we heard a knock and the phrase, "cabin inspection," in an authoritative British accent, which we knew was the ship's captain. I managed to grab all of my clothes and run to the restroom. My girlfriend straightened out the room and managed to stall the captain and prevent him from checking the bathroom. She told me that I forgot the used rubbers on the floor and she managed to step on them to hide them with her bare feet. I owed her big time for that one. I used to work in fast food, and a manager got caught doing the deed with an employee. They were going to just transfer him, but they realized that the employee was 17 and the manager was 24, so he was fired. The employee quit because they thought it would keep the manager from being fired. I quit a few weeks later for unrelated reasons. I'm getting a lot of replies asking if we worked at the same place. It is scary how many places this seems to have happened at, and I work at Taco Bell. I worked at Whole Foods. A man and a wife working together, and the wife was 6 months pregnant. One day the wife goes out to their shared car during a lunch break, and lo and behold, inside the car, her husband is just banging away with another Whole Foods employee. Someone much younger. I've never seen the entire store come together like a family as they did in that day to support the pregnant wife. The husband and wife did stay together against everyone's advice, and the young lady he cheated with quit work. The ones who I caught at work started dating immediately after they were caught, and now they're moving in together. The boss gave no Fs about it either. Huh. I was a whitewater raft guide 10 years ago. We would party at the area where we stacked our rafts at night at our boathouse, and we slept in tents nearby. One thing led to another, and my girlfriend at the time and I got on top of a stack of rafts under the stars quite drunk. The boathouse manager lived in a small apartment with an upstairs window directly adjacent to this stack of rafts. We would be introduced to our tours by him each day with a fun little anecdote like, "This is James, best river guide west of the Mississippi." So the next day after we did this, after saying nothing to us, he was introducing us to a new crowd and went, "Okay, now your guide is going to be Chelsea the Screamer," with a pointed look at us. She looked like she saw a ghost and then laughed it off. There were no further repercussions beyond the call-out and a bit of laughs. It was a laid-back environment, though. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I'm not sure you could ever get away with in a modern office environment, but it seems like par for the course for an outdoorsy job where the staff happen to get busy well away from the gaze of any HR-type folks. Worked at a bank branch a long time ago, and one of the financial advisors was pregnant with twins, and everyone was super happy for her. Apparently she'd been trying for several years with her husband, and it finally worked. Fast forward to her last day at work before her maternity leave, we decided to throw her a small goodbye party at the branch employees' room after closing hours. The husband was present as well. 15 minutes passed and suddenly the husband decided it was time for a toast and that apparently he made a lovely video for his wife to show her how grateful he was on a USB stick and insisted on showing us the video. So the manager bought him his laptop so we could watch it. The video was a hidden camera, I guess, in their bathroom of the advisor doing the deed with another guy with sound and everything. We were all so shocked the video played for a good minute until the manager closed his laptop and basically sent everyone home. The advisor was crying her life out, the husband had this evil smile on his face and took his USB stick out of the laptop and said, "See you in court," and left. I was an engineer at a company. A couple were fired for doing the deed in his car in the parking lot. Our company was one of the biggest CCTV manufacturers in the world. I designed camera control systems. Our parking lot was also used to test products, and had one of the highest camera per square foot ratio of any parking lot anywhere. Our cameras had amazing zoom capabilities. This just never occurred to these two brainiacs. Management insisted that we delete all footage. And to clarify, these weren't engineers, they were support. Maybe they had an associate degree, but I doubt it. The parking lot is company property. Company handbooks and HR training both say not on company property. Also strongly implied is not with the company name. At a college job in an office, the janitor walked in on me and another intern furiously banging it out with zero remorse in an empty conference room. The only repercussion is that now I get to marry her in a month. Kinda weird that the janitor forced you to marry her. Sort of work, but more like university. We worked as lab assistants, teacher's assistants kind of roles, and after we finished grading assignments in the classroom section of the lab every Wednesday night, her and I would do the deed on one of the desks. There were 10 desks and 10 weeks left in the semester. So we thought we would take advantage of the privacy, and it would give us an excuse to grade quizzes and tests and work sets as fast as possible and do the deed on a different desk every week. The last week we were just screwing away on the last desk. The professor shows up with food thanking us for being so much more dedicated than all her other assistants in all her years teaching. She sees us, with the chick sitting on the desk with her legs spread wide and me facing her, thrusting, standing up. The professor says, "Well, this explains a lot. Don't get pregnant." She put the food down and left, locking the door on the way out. We finished, ate the food, and did the deed again. Best professor ever? Not even a question. My wife is a teacher. I visited her classroom after hours and we banged in the actual broom closet like something off a crappy sitcom. Of course, someone walked in and said, "Whoops," and left, and I almost lost my mind and my focus. But my wife was like, "Relax, half the staff are doing this, and I've caught a few in here myself before." It was difficult to finish. I got caught going at it in the toilets at a work party with my coworker. Luckily, whoever it was saved us the embarrassment and just knocked on the door loudly. We straightened up and left, carried on drinking. The toilet was tucked away in this corner so the party couldn't see us leaving and no one was outside when we left. Nothing ever came of it, thankfully. Very funny though, 10 out of 10 would do again. We hired a new guy, and as he was relocating across country, he asked for a job for his wife, and we accommodated that. They ran the customer-facing aspect of our shop, which included a storefront that was only open a few hours a week. Because there was a cash box in that room, it was very secure. The owner's son had a reputation of raiding it whenever he needed a smack fix, so new doors and new locks, two-way mirrors, among other things. Routinely, we would call into the room to get things from them, and the phone would go unanswered. They assured us they were up to nothing, but we heard noises a few times, so I played a hunch. I was IT, and one day coming out of the server room, I passed them in the hall, and she asked what I was doing in there. And I fabricated a security system that no one bothered checking. I explained that I was in charge of tapes and updates, and that due to robbery and theft we had a camera in every room, including their office. I hadn't looked at it in months and was restoring the system to look at some stuff from the past 2 weeks. Fast forward about 20 minutes and they were tearing the room apart looking for a camera. You can hear her sobbing through the door, shocked at what I have on tape. They got a warning, I pointed into a vent as a heads up for the camera, and warned it got the whole room. We eventually fired both of them. I worked in loss prevention. Catching other employees became a pretty normal event. Here's the thing, most retailers put twice as many cameras in employee areas as they do in customer areas. If it was between employees, they would get a verbal warning, sometimes a written, and managers and employees would cause one to get transferred, usually the manager. Employees and a non-employee in an employee-only area was either a written or a final warning given. I can't think of anything crazy except for when I first caught someone, the other loss prevention people were just meh, and after a while it became a normal thing. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. Put the playlist on in the background to finish listening to all the stories, or if you want some vibey music to put on in the background, check out easymode. If you like Am I the Genius, give Am I the Jerk a shot. Everything linked in the description.